Ho ho boardies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and this is Chrono Jotter episode 9. Last time, we went to see the block tunnel with Kawazumi. Kawazumi. We explored a bit only to fall off the edge of a short cliff. And we fell and Kawazumi sprained her ankle or was unable to move, so we had to kind of wait it out under a tree. The rest of the students knew that we were there, so it was only a matter of time before someone came to find us. While waiting to be rescued, Ran had a vision that helped her realise that Kawazumi was actually her teacher in real life, and the student that we see here is just this world's interpretation of her. Makes sense? It doesn't to me either. Let's continue. Ran scooped up some hot water and splashed it over her face. In the end, under Sai's guidance, she and Kawazumi had found a path that led back up from the bottom of the cliff. On the whole way... No. The whole way there? No. The whole way back, I think it's supposed to say, right? On the whole way. Ran paid attention to any possible changes in the forest on the other side. She didn't find a pathway that looked like it might let her cross the woods. If she was to try and force herself, though, who knew what would happen? Let's wait to try until I have no better alternatives. I'm far from exhausting my options. Right now, especially after I recovered the memories pertaining to Kawazumi Sensei. That's a huge step forward. Yeah, so basically, it turns out that Kawazumi was actually her old school teacher, and her old school teacher confessed to Ran that she was doing everything that her parents said, like from a student, and now as a teacher. She didn't really want to be a teacher, and neither did she want to get married. And then it turns out that she did get married, and it's quite a sad story. Okay. Ran dropped her shoulders into the tub, and the hot water wrapped her neck. The blood in her carotid arteries warmed as it rushed into her brain, bringing her great comfort. Before this, I didn't remember a thing about Kawazumi-sensei, but after she took so many actions which lined up with my lost memories of her, I recovered those memories. Little things like the way she'd turn pages in a textbook by licking her middle finger, but more importantly, the last sentence she said to me before I regained my memory. That implies that the door to the bathroom suddenly opened, startling Ran, who jumped backwards with a splash. The person who stood in the door was Kawazumi, slightly hunched over with a flushed face, and trying to cover her body as best she could with her own hands. Kawazumi! I'm sorry. I wanted to wait until you were done, but why was she covering herself? She got a towel on? Kawazumi's eyes were flickering here and there anxiously, and her shoulders were pulled in tightly. They said that I'd gotten wet from the rain too, and that I need to wash quickly as well, so then they shoved me in here. Right. Ran leaned forward, using both hands to support herself on the edge of the bathtub. They're completely right, actually. We should have been washing together from the start. Sorry. No, it's fine. I'm the one who's too scared to be with you, Ibuki-san. I know, don't worry, just hurry up and get yourself a hot shower. Don't catch cold standing there. Kawazumi nods and noticeably relaxes and starts showering herself. Ran laid down on the tiles of the bath and watched Kawazumi from behind. The Kawazumi sensei I knew apparently took the exact same as she did in high school. Looked the same, except for her height. Fair skin, and a super thin waist that was noticeable every time she put on a tracksuit to lead us on the track. Kawazumi washed her hair diligently. Her hair was very dense and it took a lot of work for her to clean. Kawazumi sensei should be 30 by now. It's been many years since she was in high school. Why would she appear as a high schooler here? What is going on with this school's timeline? And that's not even mentioning Induo. Induo is easily a whole century displaced from the present. Excuse me. Kawazumi, after washing the soap suds off herself, entered the bath as well. Ran moved aside, making room for Kawazumi. After being stuck in the rain for so long, it's so nice to take a hot bath. Koizumi turned to the side and let the water rinse over her shoulders. Rise over her shoulders? She looked towards Ran, and the hot steam made her face seem both rosier and more mature than usual. I'm sorry that you were caught in the fall with me, Ibuki-san. It's okay. Ran didn't dare look at her. Koizumi's face was overlapping with her face after she became a teacher, and the pressure pushing Ran to throw up was resurging once again. Okay, don't know whether you need to throw up. Sorry, Koizumi-sensei. By the way, Ibuki-san, why did you suddenly fall to your knees earlier? Was there something wrong? Do you think maybe you should visit Takai-san for a checkup after this? Ran didn't know how she should answer. Not only was there no way that she could say anything about the future, but more importantly, right then she felt like she wanted to cry. She'd never seen the teacher who cared for her so much ever again. After Koizumi left her position, there was no doubt that it was because Ran didn't dare face her. Koizumi-sensei, I'm sorry. I should have stood up and said something for you. Ran bit her lower lip and forcefully buried her face into the water. Droplets splashed into Koizumi's face onto. Ibuki-san, what's the matter? Bubbles rose from the bottom of the water to the surface. Koizumi looked at the ends of Ran's hair, refracted and distorted by the water, into twisty zigzags and reached out, wanting to touch her. But before she could make contact, Ran pulled her head up again, and the bangs of her hair pressed tightly onto her face, obscuring her eyes. I'm sorry. Her voice trembled. I'm sorry. Bathwater mixed with tears, flowing down her face. Koizumi had no idea what Ran was apologizing for, and so could only choose to remain silent. Oh. Ran and Koizumi said their farewells to each other at the entrance to the rooms and returned to their own rooms. Sai was lying in bed, and when she heard the sound of the doors open, she immediately poked her head out. Wow. You look like you're out of it. Did you take a hit to the brains from the fall? Ran didn't answer her, and instead fell straight into her bed. Under the pillow was her notebook. Yoruno, have you ever met me before? What's that question supposed to mean? There's no way I'd forget anyone as depressing as you. Ran laughed a bit, her face buried deep in the pillow, letting out a thick, muffled sound. Yeah, you're right. There's no way I'd ever forget anybody with a hairdo like yours, either. Sai laughed as well, as if to answer Ran's laughter. Before she asked again. So what's with that question? Not like you to ask a question for no reason. It's nothing. After Ran finished speaking, she heard Sai turning over in the upper bunk, followed by the lights to the room going out. Alright. Well, you're probably exhausted after today. Get some rest. It was as she said. It was as she said. Ran was indeed exhausted. After Sai brought it up, she felt like she didn't even have the energy left to give an answer. She nodded before she realized that Sai couldn't even see her nod. Ran closed her eyes, hoping she could get to sleep sooner rather than later. She also hoped that she wouldn't see Koizumi in her dreams. Ran didn't dream that night. She slept until she awoke naturally. She took a look at her phone. It was still pretty early. It was pretty early. The other students were probably would still be in their rooms. Let's get up early today. As Ran put on her jacket and went out of bed, she found that the sheets in the upper bunk had been folded and stowed neatly. Yoruno really does go swimming every morning, doesn't she? Ran staggered away out of the room. She noticed something was off as soon as she pushed the door open. Raising her head, she looked at the dim light to the corridor. There's no natural sunlight in this corridor, so this hallway light is usually always on. Is the electricity out? Ran headed down the stairs and saw that all the students had already gathered there to discuss something. She didn't see Sai or Anne in the group though. Yoruno probably went right to the classroom after she finished swimming. Miss Sakura. Good morning, Ibuki-san. Tama meandered up to Ran as soon as she saw her. Good morning. What's going on? The power to the dorm has gone out. Asakura-san and Takai-san are working on trying to fix it. Ran could see the two of them discussing the situation next to the staircase, while Koizumi stood and listened attentively beside them. Morning, Ran-chan. Aya sidled up to Ran as well, casually laying her hands onto Ran's shoulders again. Anytime a situation develops here, we usually just let the three of them deal with it. Is that so? They do seem reliable. A power outage? Where does the school get power from in the first place? A local generator? Or do they get power from outside somehow? It's the first time we've run into a power outage actually, isn't it? Anne approached the group from the direction of the washroom and took a place next to Ran. Good morning, Ran. Miss Sakura. Ran immediately approached Anne, taking both of Anne's hands with her own and leaving Aya unsure of what to do with her own arms. Miss Sakura, how'd you sleep last night? You're hungry, right? Do you want breakfast? Let's have breakfast together, Miss Sakura. Oh, so that's how it is. Ran? I've literally been acting like this the whole time. Yeah, it's not a surprise at this point. Right, Miss Sakura? Anne smiled a bit. I'm doing quite well. How about you, Ran? Yesterday must have been quite a day for you. Did you sleep well? I slept great. Look, Toyama, Miss Sakura cares about me so much. Isn't that normal? Good morning, Ibuki-san. Not sleeping in today, then. Miho's group seemed to have reached a conclusion in their discussions. They approached Ran as well. Miho. Aya immediately pounced onto Miho, imitating Ran by holding onto Miho's arm. Hey, let go! Stop messing around! Despite what she said, Miho made no move to peel off Aya herself. Still, Miho's token resistance gave Ran a small sliver of satisfaction. Miho, the power is out, right? Is it fixable? Yes. Asakura-san said that it's possibly an issue with the generator, and that she'll go fix it after the school day ends at noon. It won't affect classes. We don't know what we're going to do about lunch, though. Without power, a lot of appliances can't be used, so Yoruno-san might have trouble making lunch. Don't worry about it. Sai's incredible. She'll definitely have something super delicious for us even without electricity. Huh. I sure would like to see what she could possibly come up with. Mark my words, if she starts boiling water to make us all ramen, I'm going to mock the hell out of her. Oh, the power's out. Let's have a barbecue for lunch then. Damn it. That actually does sound delicious. Whoa. Oh, it's been a long time since we've had a barbecue. Let's do it like last time then. And start moving the tables to the dorm's building entrance. Asakura-san, please allow me to help you with the grilling today as well. Asakura nodded and gave Tama a pat on the head. I'm suddenly really looking forward to lunch. Damn, Yoruno sure is competent. She's only said barbecue. Ran sat down next to Sai and began preparing for the first class. This time she'd written down the class schedule. There's 2 periods of physics class up after this. Asakura seems like she'd be well suited to teaching this subject. So far it seems that each of the students are only responsible for a single task at this school though. After the bell rang to signal the start of the class, it turned out that the person who headed up to the podium was actually Tama. Seriously, we're going to get a lecture on modern physics from someone born in Taisho era. But after she began lecturing, it turned out that Tama was a surprisingly talented teacher. She explained each of the topics in depth without skipping over any details. The pace of her lecture was a bit slow because of it, but even Ran could easily keep up with the lesson, despite not having any of the textbooks. Ran was able to break her attention away from the lecture when the end of the period bell rang. Didn't even realise the class was over. Induro's teaching isn't half bad. Tama gave a long sigh of relief as she declared that the class was over before immediately trotting over to Ran. Let's have a look up here. Yoruno-san, could I ask you to show me how to prepare meat properly again at today's lunch? Ibuki-san, how was it? Was my lecture easy to follow? A new student like Ran Ibuki surely made a valuable source of feedback for any educator seeking to improve their lesson plans. Sure. There's a lot of cutting that needs to be done for a barbecue, so work hard and learn well. Honestly, it was great. Teaching isn't an easy or simple job in Duo. We did really well. How'd you learn to teach anyways? Was she another teacher? Thank you. Thank you very much for your praise. Actually, it was because I completely didn't understand physics at all, and I really wanted to understand it, so I actively volunteered to be the physics teacher. In order to not hinder my classmates, I studied very hard, and most importantly, Asakura-san helped me a lot. I see. So they all selected the responsibilities at this school themselves. You just can't do without Asakura, huh, in Duo? That's right. That's why I can really understand the feelings you have for Sakura-san, Ibuki-san. It's because I feel the same way. Ran wanted to refute her comparison, but she decided to nod and let it pass instead. Ran looked towards Anne, who was chatting with Koizumi and Aya. Occasionally, Ran could hear the sounds of laughter from their direction. She opened her eyes wide, feeling as if she'd been transported to the past. Perhaps that was what the reward she'd earned from these past 4 years of hard work was? Perhaps that was what the reward was. She'd returned, okay, to be able to sit in a school uniform in a classroom again, together with Anne Sakura. Even though a small note of dissonance in her heart had begun to grow, the joy of seeing Anne Sakura again was enough to overwrite it for a moment. And she looked forward to the start of the next class period. It doesn't matter. No matter what happens, as long as I'm with Miss Sakura, it's not a problem. After the physics class ended, both of the remaining class periods that morning were chemistry class, which Aya was responsible for, and which Ran had happened to miss yesterday. Even though Aya's lecture was a little less stellar relative to Tama's, her chalkboard notes were surprisingly organised and neat. Ran felt like she could learn the whole day's worth of lessons just by staring at the chalkboard. Still, watching Aya try to give a serious lecture, Ran couldn't help but crack up. Seriously, the class period's only halfway over and it feels like Aya already wants out. When it finally came time for class to actually end, Aya let out a big sigh of relief and her whole body slumped down. Then Aya immediately slammed herself into the empty chair just in front of Ran's seat. I'm so dead on my feet. This stuff's more exhausting than holding a B major chord for a whole hour. Your analogy's going over my head, but I feel like you did a decent job teaching-wise. But of course. You got Takai to write the notes on the board though, didn't you? Oh, you must surely be joking. Of course I wrote them myself. If you keep talking nonsense, I won't write the notes for you in the future anymore. Miho gave Aya's head a little tap before taking out a black smartphone and handing it over to Ran. Koizumi said she broke her phone yesterday, which reminded me that I should get you one as well, so that you can contact us more easily. With a phone, even if you run into trouble again, you can call us for help. Oh, thanks. Ran turned the phone on. The address book was already populated with her classmates' phone numbers. It looks like it's the absolute newest model of phone. I've never seen this model before. Though I don't know much about phones. Maybe I just don't remember this one. Well, for now I guess I can only use this one here. Once class is out, I'll go find Miss Sakura so we can get a selfie together for my new phone's wallpaper. Ran entered the address book and sent Anne a text. Miss Sakura, I've got a phone now. Let's eat together at the barbecue at lunch. I'll do the grilling for you. Anne soon replied. Sure, thanks. I'm looking forward to it. Ran put away the cell phone, her heart was full of joy. Before she'd entered a relationship with Anne Sakura, she'd often exchanged text messages with Anne before bed, though at the time, the subjects of the discussions had been anything but sweet. Especially after that time Ran's arm got cut off. What? Especially after that time Ran's arm got cut off. What are we talking about? Okay. Alright, we'll just breeze past that. Why am I here helping you preparing skewers for the barbecue instead of enjoying the barbecue together with Miss Sakura, Yoruno? Why am I helping as opposed to spending every second of my waking day with Miss Sakura? After the end of class, Sai had caught Ran trying to sneak off to have a conversation with Anne. Instead, Sai dragged her to the kitchen to help her prepare the materials for the barbecue. The rest of the students had taken the responsibilities of setting up the table and preparing the grill in the meantime.
You don't do any of the work in school or in the dorms. So the least you can do is help me out with the barbecue, right, Takai?
Miho didn't hear Sai calling her name at all. She was too focused on cubing the beef steak to answer. She'd actively volunteered her help with the food preparation, and after Sai had shown her how to prepare the meat and told her the amount needed, Miho had poured her whole heart and soul into the work. Just a lot more inefficiently than either of the two of them had expected.
Miho really wants to learn to cook. Every time she comes here to ask me to teach her, she takes it really seriously.
Sai was very adept at making meat skewers, and finishing one every few seconds. In comparison, Ran's motions could only be described as struggling. Were you in the barbecue club in the middle school or what?
What kind of school would have a club like that?
Sai's hands continued to work automatically as she looked at Ran.
My little sister and I just held a lot of seaside barbecues before. Eventually I picked up a thing or two.
Ran nodded before realising that she'd just crafted yet another lopsided skewer. I'll let Yoruno have that one, once we serve them.
Okay, that's enough.
Sai grabbed Miho by the waist, bringing her back to her senses. What is it, Yoruno-san? I haven't yet made enough, have I?
Now it's fine. Yunobuki should just carry the skewers out and start grilling.
Sai looked pointedly through the window, where Aya had already started pounding her fists on the table in impatience.
Leave the rest to me.
I'm so embarrassed on Aya's behalf. Yoruno, you can make more skewers later. Come. Eat with us first.
If I went to eat as well, there'd be nobody to serve up more for you later.
Sai took the knife from Miho and started chopping meat with a brisk rhythm. Incredible! Miho felt like Sai was using a completely different tool than the one she'd been using.
Okay, that's enough gawking, shoo.
Sai finished chopping up a piece of meat in an instant and wiping away the traces of mincemeat on the blade with a cloth.
Take the skewers and start the grilling already. They're all practically drooling outside.
Okay. Ram picked up the platter and headed outside. Behind her, she could still hear the sound of Sai's precise chopping. On second thought, maybe I'll just eat the lopsided ones myself. Ran licked her lips a bit. The taste of cumin still lingered on her lips. The barbecue festivities had come to an end, and all that was left was the aftertaste, and an uncomfortably full stomach for Ran. I'm absolutely stuffed. Let's go find Miss Sakura and take a tour around the campus to help digest. Ran pulled out her phone. Unlike with the previous broken screen, this time she could clearly see her love's face. The wallpaper was a selfie of Anna herself, which Ran had taken while they were eating. I can finally see Miss Sakura's face clearly. I should take more photos from now on. Ibuki-san. Tama pushed open the dorm entrance and came to Ran's side. Indo, what is it? I was wondering if you'd like to take a walk around the school with me, Ibuki-san. I'm sure there's many places you still haven't visited, right? Oh, she actually had the same thought as me then. What about Asakura? Don't you need to follow her around or whatever? Asakura-san has gone to repair the generator. She said that it was loud in there and that the quality of the air wasn't very good, so she told me I didn't need to follow her there. Ah, I see. So I'm the backup option then. But, sure. I've already decided that I don't need to be so impatient with trying to make a breakthrough on Miss Sakura anyways. Starting from other people and approaching the goal in an indirect way is also perfectly viable. Very well then. I'll be counting on you to be my guide. Okay, Ibuki-san. A new recall point. Oh, okay. Where are we going to look? So I've got 2 options here. So I can choose between 3. Hinata Kuwazumi. Let's have a look at Hinata Kuwazumi. See how she's doing. Ran followed Tama to the other side of the schoolhouse. She remembered that this was also where the infirmary was located. And right here is the infirmary where you fell asleep before, Ibuki-san. Tama had repeated what Ran was thinking in her heart. Do you use the infirmary often? Or do you all have excellent health and leave Takai with nothing to do all day? We rarely use this place indeed. If it's a small matter like a cold or a stomachache, we can usually solve those problems with just the first aid kits in the dorms. Oh, is that so? There's first aid kits in the dorms, huh? I didn't notice any in the dorms. Maybe there's somewhere in the kitchen or something. When the 2 of them passed by the entrance to the infirmary, Ran heard a sound coming from within. Someone's there. She reached out and knocked on the door. An answer quickly came in response. Ran pulled open the door and entered the infirmary. Ibuki-san, Induo-san, hello. Hello, Kuwazumi-san. Kuwazumi, are you okay? Does your foot still hurt? Kuwazumi stared with wide eyes. She'd apparently thought that she'd managed to hide it from Ran. No, it's nothing. Kuwazumi sat at the side of the bed, her right foot bereft of its usual stocking, holding a bottle of medicine in her hand. She used her unoccupied hand to block her foot, and seemed embarrassed that Ran was seeing her in her current state, even though the 2 of them had already taken a bath together. Taka-san told me to apply this medicine and to get some rest. Is the injury serious? Why didn't you ask Miho to help you apply it? Well, it's not that serious, so I thought I wouldn't trouble Takai-san. Oh, okay. Tama seems to have something to say. Or urge Kuwazumi to tell the truth. Well, I've got this one passed. I feel like Kuwazumi sensei's pushing herself, but I don't know if it'd be any use if I were to say anything. Ran looked down and saw that Tama was staring at Kuwazumi's foot with obvious concern. Right, let's get Induo to help bring the issue up for me. Induo, do you have anything to say? Me? Tama hesitated before she seemed to make up her mind in some way or another, and took a knee in front of Kuwazumi. Let me check it for you, Kuwazumi. You might have trouble applying the medicine even if you're trying to do it yourself. You gotta take injuries seriously, and take care of them properly, otherwise their condition will only worsen. Kuwazumi seemed very embarrassed, but nodded anyways, and handed the bottle of medicine to Tama. Tama raised Koizumi's ankle, allowing Ran to see the injury properly. It's seriously swollen and inflamed. Tama nodded and began applying the poultice to Koizumi's wound with intense concentration. I don't know what that word means. It may hurt just a little bit, please bear it. Koizumi covered her mouth with her hands. Her eyes were set into a squint from the pain. Looks like it hurts way more than just a little bit. Ibuki-san, could you grab the bandages for me? It's best to wrap up after applying medicine. Sure. Ran remembered that she'd seen a bunch of bandages in a glass cabinet back when she'd been lying on the same bed, and she quickly went and got a roll. Is this type good? Yes, thank you. Tama took the bandages and wrapped up the swollen part of Koizumi's foot. Even so, it left an obvious bulge under the wrappings. You're pretty good at this, Tama. I've done this sort of thing many times before, after all. The young mistress got herself hurt quite frequently. Tama smiled, and then got up and helped Koizumi lie down again. Koizumi-san, please rest here for a while and try not to go anywhere until the medicine takes effect. I understand. Thank you, Indoro-san and Ibuki-san. I didn't even do anything. Just like before. Koizumi-sensei. Well, we won't disturb your rest then. Let's go, Indoro. Okay. Koizumi-san, please definitely make sure your feet have stopped hurting before going anywhere. Okay, I understand. Thank you. Thank you! Ran helped Koizumi close the curtain on the sickbed and left the infirmary with Tama. Alright, I think that's a good place to stop and have another break from Borderline Games. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time where we'll have another episode of the Chrono Jotter. I guess we're going to explore one more part of this map, and then is there going to be a murder? Maybe there's not going to be a murder ever again. A chance to be a fine thing. Alright, have a good evening. See you guys. Bye-bye.